Hello, BookTube. Well, I didn't think that I would conveniently reach this time so early. I didn't think I would conveniently reach a point where I could do a Steve stream because my personal life, my professional life, and when you live your life on the fainting couch, those two things are the same, has been a nightmare of convolutions and sudden changes. And there was also other sudden changes as well. Something of the topography here at Hyde Cottage has changed. And when that happens, since the topology here is mostly bookcases, that involves shifting around a lot of books. And I've been doing that. And that's to me really compelling. It's really driving. So I'm sitting there at my computer and I am ready to work. I know what work I need to do. I don't know about the rest of you, but I tend to break down my work by hours. So the little dog and I have just got back inside. We've both cleaned up. We are both settled down. I want to do X in the next hour. And then I want to do Y in the hour after that. Doesn't always work out that way. A lot of times an hour is more time than I need, but I like to do it that way. And nowadays, lately, when I've been doing that and sitting there at the keyboard, a large part of me has been thinking, it'd be great fun, a lot more fun than this next hour, if you were to spend this next hour on your feet moving books around. And that has to be resisted, and I'm not always good at resisting that. So there's been a little bit of chaos, and I was assuming in the early morning today that would prevent me from doing a Steve stream until later in the week. But I am something of a superhero or a freak, depending on how you call it, and I think that a Steve stream will work just fine. I don't think this will set me behind at all, especially if we only go for 15 minutes or so. So the throat clearing to start a Steve stream would ordinarily be the news. There's quite a bit of news. There's weather news, but I imagine we'll get to that when we do a blob watch. There is a fairly big storm headed into the Gulf of Mexico, headed probably to the coast of Florida. But there's also political news. If we'd been doing a Steve stream every day and I had headphones on and I was a real streamer, we would long since have covered this. There's been one enormous rat effing news story after another. All of it dropped. None of it's organic, none of it's natural, and that bothers me. That makes me not want to read it. It makes me not want to think about it because it's being doled out to me by a rat effer. And that always bothers me. That artificiality of it always bothers me. When you get Oppo research story dumps one after another in a news cycle, in the same news cycle, not only is that drip being controlled, but it's being done that way in order to destabilize your attention. That's where conspiracy theories come from, because it's easy to look at these stories that have come out. Mark Robinson, candidate for governor, suddenly embroiled in scandal because somebody in an Oppo research a rat effing team found a whole bunch of old posts of his on a social media site, calling himself a black Nazi, advocating the reinstallation of slavery. And I'm watching that, and I'm watching everyone in his campaign quit. The Republican Party is pulling all sorts of money from him. And I'm watching that, and I'm thinking, this is the guy who yelled in a church that some people just need killing. That didn't disqualify him. This is disqualifying him, or seems to be. There's that. There's an arch alt-right neo-Nazi hate monger named Christopher Rufo, who is experiencing one revelation after another that show him for being exactly the kind of meme farming opportunist grifter that it was easy to tell from a mile away. There was also an elaboration in the old familiar story of Matt Gaetz as a child predator. Somehow that story has lived to be old. Somehow he has managed to just continue being a public figure and an elected official when people were in the room with him and testified in court that they saw him committing multiple felonies and produced Venmo payment records of him committing the aforementioned multiple felonies. Somehow or other, that just didn't matter. It just, or the Department of Justice just decided, no, sorry, yeah, this ain't it. You ain't got it. And now more stories have surfaced that corroborate the same thing. That corroborate something that the former uh, Speaker of the House of Representatives just stated as a matter of fact, that everybody in the House of Representatives already knows, that the American people already know. This guy's heckled as a pedo everywhere he goes. Everybody knows it's true. There are how many eyewitnesses, affidavits, sworn testimonies, Venmo records? I don't know how many are necessary to flush this turd down the toilet. I have no idea. But that's in the news as well. And also, just recently, just today, an advocacy group in Springfield, Ohio, has brought charges against Donald Trump and J.D. Vance for endangering the public. Essentially endangering the public by consistently spreading what J.D. Vance admitted on national television was a lie. And they're still doing it. So that is causing bomb threats and school closings and Haitian immigrants in the town, not insignificant new portion of the town, to be vilified and threatened. I'm assuming that the lawsuit will go nowhere. Nothing ever seems to go anywhere, but all of that stuff is in the news, and all of that stuff could be legitimately talked about if this were a real podcast, a real stream. I'd have to add a whole bunch of things for it to be a real stream. I have to get rid of that picture, first of all. That would have to go. Something would have to be there in its place. Something crass and neon illuminated. I would need a bucket on my left-hand side to throw up in, and a bucket on my right-hand side to urinate in, unless I want to go for the gold of streaming by leaving the frame to go urinate or eat or check a package at the front door and talk with the delivery man while you just stare at blank space and rack up my views. If I wanted to be a real streamer, I would have to do all that. And if I were a real streamer, I would bring up all of these subjects and discuss them and maybe sift for angles that the mainstream media is not looking at. There's another subject that's on my mind, though, before we switch over to the chat. I know the chat, there'll be people. I think I see there are 7 people here, and that's good. We have a lot to talk about. We haven't had much contact recently. But the thing that I want to talk about is a triple play. I want to talk about the possibility of a triple play and whether or not it is enough to bring down a scumbag. And the scumbag in this case being Ashton Kutcher, the admittedly dreamy star of that 70s show and The Ranch. Cultivates an everyman popular image, has been in a whole bunch of stoner bro comedies designed to be watched late at night and just enjoyed as brainless fun. I'm wondering about a triple play. There is no proof for it yet. For all 3 parts of a triple play, there is proof for a double. And where that's true, I always wonder about the possibility of a triple. Ashton Kutcher and his wife, of course, became infamous last year. They were one of the most searched items on Google last year when they had written confidential letters, character recommendations to a judge in the rape trial in which their friend and co-star Danny Masterson was on trial for his life. He was essentially on trial for aggravated assault and rape, and if he was convicted, would certainly never see the light of day as a free man again. And he went to trial and he was convicted on 50 years to life to go to prison. A prison sentence that, needless to say, unless $50,000 a year is expended on his security, he will not survive. He won't survive the first year of it. Not only he would be a trophy anyway. Hollywood, a famous person would be a trophy anyway, but a famous person who's a rapist, it's unlikely that he would have to have all of his meals in solitary. He would have to have all of his exercise in solitary. I don't know if that would be possible. But when he was sentenced, when he was convicted, but before he was sentenced, Ashton Kutcher and his wife sent character reference letters to the judge. It's the thing. It's a common thing. You can do it where you want to speak up for your friend. If there's any chance that your character testimony can ameliorate their sentence at all before you make it, and those letters were released. They went public. How Ashton Kutcher is not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, but how he could possibly have thought that they wouldn't go public, I don't know. And how he could possibly have not anticipated the effect of them going public, I do not know. But suddenly, the fact that a star of a beloved sitcom is on for 10 years, had been found guilty of rape and sentenced to 50 years in prison, suddenly that was eclipsed by the fact that his good-looking co-star and friend was defending him. The letter that Ashton Kutcher wrote was mind-boggling. It was that he's been the soul of courtesy and very gentle and kind to everybody, as if the trial had never happened, as if the victims had never spoken and said, well, there are a handful of people he wasn't the soul of courtesy to. Maybe the exact opposite of that, and maybe instead of defending your friend, you condemn him. Though those letters went public, and as if that weren't bad enough, Ashton Kutcher and his wife, Mila Kunis, they decided it was a good idea to do a fake apology video. Now, they were counseled in this, and they paid a lot of money. Like I've mentioned on this channel before, there is a booming industry. There are firms that you contact in order to make a fake apology video, not in order to make an apology video. Apologies as social functions don't exist anymore. For 17,000 years of human civilization, they did. A sincere apology existed. They don't exist anymore. Your grandchildren are going to read about them in books. You mean once upon a time, there was a way to clean the slate socially and start over with somebody, genuinely start over with somebody? Once upon a time, that was possible. And they'll read in books, they'll read in histories, they'll read in novels that it was possible. But it doesn't exist anymore. It'll be a long gone memory in their own day. When they reach adulthood, it'll be a long gone memory. So Ashton Kutcher and his wife reached out not to an apology firm, but to a fake apology firm. The goal of these, they charge huge amounts of money, and usually for disgraced YouTubers who are, I might add, the disgraced YouTubers always need these apology videos for the same crime. It's not rape, but it's not far off. It's well, we'll be getting to that crime. Actually, it's part of this opening screen. They made a fake apology video. I think they probably paid $75,000 to have it coached and put together. It's grating. It's awful. There's not a sincere moment anywhere in it. That's the whole point. You could ask your money back from a fake apology firm if there were a sincere moment in it. It's not supposed to be sincere. It's supposed to be the opposite of that. It's supposed to get you clicks, outrage clicks. Only the outrage clicks in this case were a tsunami. I don't think that Ashton Kutcher was expecting the response that he got. And he and his wife went low profile after that, which is pretty hard to do for raving, drooling, wild-eyed narcissists. But they did. They went low profile after they were caught writing defending letters about a rapist to a judge. And then another huge news item struck another huge news item that struck the headlines just recently when we were not doing Stevestreams, which was about Sean Combs, the music mogul Sean Combs, who had been under investigation for a long time, very serious investigation. No idea, again, I say this all the time, no idea why he didn't flee the country. He could have managed it. With a private jet and all of his flunkies, he could have managed it. And he didn't. He was under investigation for a long time for horrible, horrible crimes, including rape and sex trafficking. And he was arrested. And in the wake of that, as people the dust starts to settle on that, people start to look around dazed and think, oh my God, this guy's in jail and he's never getting out again. All of a sudden, people started talking about who he knows and who was at these freak-off parties that are at the heart of his indictment. And who was at a lot of those parties? Ashton Kutcher was at a lot of those parties and was a longtime friend of Sean Combs, hung out with him, did all sorts of things with him, bragged to his friends and at least once on camera that he did things with him that he can't even repeat. They can't tell the stories. Why not? Why not? I'm just curious. The last time I had a guest over here, who was the last guest I had over here? Well, there have been a whole bunch of them, fortunately. There's my friend Sam, there's Hannah, there's David Murphy, long-suffering David Murphy comes over sometimes for days and days at a time. And although the stories that I could tell from those evenings are horrifying for them, there's only so many Disney musical clips you can be put through, according to the Geneva Convention. There are no stories from those evenings where I would say, oh, I can't tell that. The implication when Ashton Kutcher said it on camera being that if I told that story, I would be in legal trouble. Okay. All right. Well, if you say that and you brag about that sort of thing to enough people, it's natural that when Sean Combs is arrested for all of those stories, your name is going to start to come up. Especially since the indictment, the Southern District of New York, mentioned that, like Jeffrey Epstein, Sean Combs taped a lot of stuff. Every room under surveillance. Guests and victims taped all the time. Presumably, since both of his houses were searched thoroughly and hefty bags full of stuff were taken out earlier in the year, presumably the government is in possession of all of those tapes. I say presumably because, well, it was supposed to be the government who was in charge of everything that was filmed on Epstein Island. None of that has been revealed. I don't believe any of that evidence exists anymore. Certainly no felony charges have come from it. Certainly no felony charges have arisen if anybody in law enforcement who's not in on the take saw a tape of, I don't know, let's say former President Bill Clinton raping a 14-year-old who's crying and begging for her mother. If film of that exists, well, no one's prosecuted him for it. No one's prosecuted anyone. We haven't heard anything about those tapes. We know they exist. We know they were seized, but because the equipment was left behind. But no word has been said about their contents. I don't believe they exist anymore. Whether they do or not, we are now told the same thing about Sean Combs and his freak-offs, that they were filmed, that everyone was in them was filmed. So, was Ashton Kutcher there? Was he involved? Are those the stories that he can't mention, that he can't talk about when he goes through the whole list of them in his head and presumably has dozens that he can't mention? Is that why? What did he know? What did he know for sure? So you take Danny Masterson. They were co-stars on that 70s show for years. They were best friends after the show. Such best friends that when Ashton Kutcher got a deal for a new show, The Ranch, on cable, he signed up Danny Masterson to be his co-star. And we are to believe, if his PR people are correct, that he knew nothing. He knew the women involved. He knew the victims, knew them. They knew him just like they knew Danny Masterson. But we're supposed to believe not only that Danny Masterson's brother was not involved in any way, but that Ashton Kutcher was not involved in any way. And I am assuming that later on in the year or next year, we are going to be asked by his PR team, or maybe even by him in person, to believe that he didn't know anything about what his longtime friend Sean Combs was doing either, even though it was basically the same thing. And even though it must have been happening literally directly under his nose. Ashton Kutcher, so that's the double that I'm talking about. Is what are the chances? Ask yourself in your own life. You go to the gym, you see a couple of people there regularly, you also know a couple of people by name there regularly. You go to your job, you know your coworkers, past and present. You go home to your friends, you know a couple of people in the cul-de-sac as well. You know them to say hi to, you know their dogs. What are the chances that one morning you wake up and the news is splashed all over the news is that one of those people in one of those places was actually a 30 body count serial killer? What are the chances that happens to you and you had no idea at all? Not any no connection with it, but no idea that it was happening. What are the chances of that? Okay. It happens, right? If you read as much about serial killers as I do, you know for sure that it happens. There are people who are completely blindsided by this guy. I worked with him every day. I had no idea. Okay, what are the chances of two of them? No, no. This is one of those things where you don't need it to happen by increments. The minute there are two instances, you go from innocent to guilty. Am I wrong about that? This is one of those times. If you heard that about a person, that, oh yeah, did you hear? One of his coworkers turned out to have 30 bodies in his basement. And then 5 months later, did you hear that guy that I was talking about? Turns out two of his friends, two of his coworkers had bodies in their basements. He didn't know anything about it. The first time you're thinking, oh my God, what a shock. The second time you're thinking, he certainly knew. I don't know how that works, but that works in my own mind that way. So now I'm asking, okay, how certain is it that Ashton Kutcher knew what was going on in both cases? And then I think, well, when Ashton Kutcher left that 70s show, he became, among other things, he did a whole bunch of dumb movies, but he also became an angel investor, a tech bro, Wall Street investor, a pop science investor, which would have put him in the exact same circles as Jeffrey Epstein, who was doing the exact same thing with the exact same people. Did Ashton Kutcher know Jeffrey Epstein? Did he ever go to Epstein's island? Did he ever fly on Epstein's plane? I don't know that the answers to those questions are known. I don't know that information is known. In other words, I don't know that we have enough information to say the answer to those questions is no. But suddenly, Ashton Kutcher's loud advocacy for child sex trafficking starts to look not virtuous, but sinister. It starts to look like those televangelist, fundamentalist hate preachers who rail against gay people in the pulpit and say they're all going to burn in hell forever. Every Sunday they say this in the pulpit until they're found with the pool boy. It isn't gambling that they're railing against every Sunday. It's not just general sin. They're railing against the thing they're doing. I wonder if a triple like that is possible. But actually, I shouldn't get ahead of myself because the double hasn't played out yet. We've only seen the very beginning of this Sean Combs story. Who knows who'll be implicated in a couple of months. But anyway, that was the subject that was on my mind, was can we turn a double into a triple? Now we will move over to the chat to see what's on your mind. Eltel. Hello, Steve. Looks like you are most certainly on the march to 19K subs. Don't you try to deny it. This channel will never reach 19K. Golem Muad'Dib is here. That reading guy is still researching serial killers. I am, yes, although there's writing about it is starting to creep in as well, but it's still mostly research. Ingrid Fitz says hi. Jack Walter says hi. Golem Muad'Dib, I started Rendezvous with Rama last week. What do you want, a cookie? Perfect Hand Productions says hi, Steve. Dylan McMahon, hi, Steve. Tuning in from the path of Hurricane Helene. Yes. Yes, it's entering the Gulf of Mexico. It's big and it is likely to get bigger. I believe, Dylan, that you were the one telling me that the Gulf of Mexico is hotter than a bathtub. And hurricanes like that. Siva Bronstein says, I get the sense that you think sex is a bit overrated. I know that's very reductionist and all, but does my perception have any modicum of truth? Well, it depends on what you mean. It depends on what you mean. Is it overrated as a subject of interest? Oh, yes. It's not interesting at all, except to the two people involved. Is it overrated as a source of pleasure? Well, you ask a million-year-old South Bostoner, I'm probably going to say, yeah, it is, but I've heard that it can be extremely enjoyable. Quentin Curious Volume says, hi, Steve. You often talk about the 15 or 16 categories of books that you follow. What is the 16th category that you're unsure about? Well, I'm not unsure about a category. It's just that I don't have an exact count. I've never actually done an exact count. It might be higher than 16. That reading guy, this will be my last Stevestream for a while. I'm starting a new job that requires me to work evenings. So, tell them about Stevestreams. Tell them you have your priorities. Get them to watch as well. Quaint Curious Volumes. Also, as a North Carolinian, sorry about Mark Robinson. Yeah, I don't get the Mark Robinson scandal. I get the Mark Robinson scandal. I understand why all of his comments on that comment board a million years ago are scandalous. But bellowing in a church under stained glass windows that some people just need killing, that seems to me to be incalculably worse than crap posting on a porn site. Kevin Toll says, glad to see you back, sir. I did a response video to one of your videos today, and I'm intending to do another one this week. Levi says, hi, Steve. Ryan Thacker says, hi, Steve and Frida. Hope you're keeping well. Hope you're doing well. I read No Great Mischief by Alistair MacLeod and was wondering if you've ever read it, and if so, what you thought of it. Well, that broke records, didn't it? 25 minutes. You thought it was fantastic. Okay. I liked it a lot. That reading guide, the number you keep seeing is the likes the video has, not the amount of people here. There are 82 people here now. 82 people. That's enormous. Sid says 5 Steve videos in my feed. Guess the sun will finally come up tomorrow. So although I should point out what I've tried gently to point out before, which is that 5 videos a day is absurd. It's manifestly insane. No one else does it. No one else comes close. And that maybe if a booktuber decides to do fewer than 5 videos a day, it's not the end of the world. It's just, anyway. Anti-Gaia. Steve, should not you temper your pessimism a bit about the prospects of progress on these proceedings against Trump? You seem to be surprised that he was ultimately convicted in Manhattan. What has come of his conviction in Manhattan? He was convicted in Manhattan on the charges in Manhattan. When was it? 1981? Something. It feels like it was that long ago. He's a free man who's been maligning everyone involved ever since. He will never be sentenced for those convictions. Nothing will ever come of it. He will never suffer any penalty for it at all. So what difference does it make? What difference does it make if a judge convicted him of anything? Or if a judge said, the sky is purple? There was no accountability. That's Levi says, would you recommend The Western Canon by Harold Bloom? I would. Nietzsche and Wig, what do you make of Mike Rinder and his revelations about Scientology in his recent memoir? Scientology is all over. I have a bit of an inside source for Scientology, so a lot of the revelations that I'm reading in recent memoirs and books are no surprise to me. There's far, far worse. Scientology is a big part. It plays a large sub role in the Danny Masterson story, and therefore I would assume the Ashton Kutcher story. He claims he's not a Scientologist. He's awful friendly with them for somebody who claims that. Ashton Kutcher is on my mind because he seems to have skated right past a whole bunch of massive explosions that would end anyone else, and I'm just wondering about that. Taffy says there are rumors that Ashton and Mila are splitting up. I would very much doubt that. I wouldn't. If you told me they hate each other, I wouldn't disbelieve that at all. But I very much doubt that they would leave each other vulnerable to each other, especially him to her. I would find that hard to believe. Manny says, "Oh, hello, Steve. I've been wetting my sleeves, waiting for your stream again. Well, here I am." DS Davis says, "Hello." Sid says, "Wet sleeves. Am I back in the Hayen era again?" Oh my God. Okay. That reading guy. Why do some critics and scholars of literature become critics and scholars instead of writers of fiction? Why didn't Bloom write fiction? Well, are you 100% sure that he didn't? Probably they don't, because they would stink at it. Dylan McMahon says Ashton Kutcher's campaign against human trafficking is quite the rabbit hole to go down. I will not say what I think of him because I don't have concrete proof, but he is slimy and weird. The more first of all, his own origin story for why he became interested in this subject at all, I just categorically don't believe. Even if some equally innocent origin story is true, I don't believe what he says at all. And that's the only origin story that we have is his version of it. That I'm amazed. What are you talking about? This is going on in America, in LA. I don't believe that story at all. I don't. Most of his personal stories exculpate him on the grounds of naivete, and he's not naive. So I don't believe that. That's him just inhabiting a public persona. All I'm thinking about as an alternate origin story is when he became obsessed with that. It's just his insistence on it in front of Congress, the sanctimony of him in front of Congress, makes me feel. It reminds me always of those Sunday preachers, those homophobic Sunday preachers. The tone and tenor of it remind me of someone crusading against something they're afraid they're going to get caught doing. Golam Muad'Dib says, I watched the trailer for Mickey 17 today, so it's based on a book. Did you like the book? Never read it. That reading guy says, do you hate watch fake apology videos? Well, I don't hate watch them. No, I hate them. Of course I do. But I don't hate watch implies you go out of your way to see them. Usually they crop up because I am aware of the creator. So if you're aware of the creator, you're vaguely following the creator's story, you're going to see their fake apology video. And there are even sweepstakes for them now. It is well known. It is talked about by the people who are hated for being in these videos. It's talked about. How much are you hated? Are you hated more? Is your fake apology worse than anybody else's? Even then, it's for clicks. Even then, it's for stupid, empty-headed competition. I can only imagine that Mr. Beast will pay millions of dollars for his fake apology video. I can only imagine that will be true. He will have to win. That reading guy says maybe there's an NDA agreement between them. Yes, the marriage contract is what it used to be called. Sid, surely you and Deb have some stories you cannot share just out of moral decency. Yeah, well, we don't want to turn your stomach. Well, some of you haven't eaten yet. I don't know what time zone you're in. Steve Brunstein says, what do you think of the RFK and Olivia Nuzzi situation? Amazing to me. Just amazing. I think it's well timed that he bowed out as a candidate and became fodder for tabloid headlines with severed whale heads and bear cub corpses in his trunk. He became tabloid fodder right at the right time, and this is just increasing that. I would feel a little bit sorry for her, but she's a grown woman, so I don't really. Nietzsche and Wig was listening to some old rock and roll stuff by the younger Kenneth Copeland. Wish he'd stuck to it instead of becoming a charlatan televangelist. Okay. Well, you were listening to it because he's a charlatan televangelist, since his music career was 120 years ago. So don't. Apart from the floating implication of your comment that you just were tuning in on the FM dial, it's part of the story of him being a monster that you would ever even encounter that music. But I'm not sure that he had much talent, but anything would be preferable to him being what he is now. Stephen Bronstein, do you like David Frum? Thereby hangs a tail. No. The simple answer, I guess, would be no. I hate to do it, but yeah, the simple answer would be no. I don't. Leo Percara says there's some Dennis Cooper / Brett Easton Ellis stuff going on in those. Oh, they're all that. They're all that. To the extent that I find it hard to believe that any A-lister at this party was innocent of what was going on. But even if you were innocent of what was going on at the parties, Ashton Kutcher didn't just know Sean Combs from the parties. They were friends. They hung out together. They talked all the time. How on earth could he not have known? Let's see here. Steve Bronstein, did you catch Jordan Peterson saying he would vote for Trump? I didn't know, but it was never any doubt in my mind. That reading guy, how many people did you know personally who could have been serial killers? Well, the thing about serial killers is that they're very practiced in you not knowing. you they're very practiced in you not knowing. I have, I have, I know of only a couple. In my life, I've only known a couple of people who gave me the heebie-jeebies. But the whole point of being a serial killer is that you don't give people the heebie-jeebies, or as little as possible. That you blindside people. They don't see it. They don't. They they would never say a year before the news breaks. They would never say, "Well, you give me 10 people here. It's certainly him." It wouldn't be that person. Uh, uh, Auntie Gaia says, "Steve, did you also hear the story about Kevin Roberts and the Heritage Foundation? Apparently, he had a Christy Nome incident." Oh no, I didn't. Dylan says, "Steve, do you remember the woman Ashton Kutcher dated that was later murdered by a serial killer? Not implying anything, but darkness certainly follows this guy." Oh my God. Well, yeah, you're not implying that he killed her, but what he did was almost as bad. I mean, he encounters her dead body, calls his friend Danny Masterson instead of calling the police, and then decides to go to a party and act like nothing was wrong. Be photographed at the party with a dead body in his home, in her home, rather. Nietzsche, I agree. There's darkness there, and it's not coincidental darkness. It's and I'm wondering every time one of these explosions happens 1 inch away from this guy, I wonder if it's going to take him out. I wonder if it's finally going to include him. And maybe this Sean Combs thing is the thing that will do that. I mean, he has to be implicated. Uh, anyway, and what about Jeffrey Epstein? Did he know Jeffrey Epstein? Did they meet in tech bro circles and maybe hang out? Nietzsche and Wig, working my way through my complete Coleridge. I was struggling with the early saccharin stuff, but I like religious musings and have been enjoying him a lot more from there on. Good for you. Manny, are you at all familiar with Gustav Freuding's poetry? If so, what do you think? I read some very interesting stuff about his verse. Not familiar with it at all. View from the bar. Good Lord. Could have sworn when I joined during the Kutcher monologue that you were asking what the odds would be that Trump has a slew of photos with and adoring remarks of both Epstein and Diddy. Trump was good friends with both of them. Trump cult members like to talk on and on about how no, Trump knew what Epstein was all about. He banished him from his properties. Uh, he was friends and admirer of both of them. Again, I say, what are the odds? What are the odds? If you told your friends, it's the most amazing thing, but a coworker of mine turned out to be a 30-body serial killer. That your friends would say, "Oh my God, are you all right? Did you have any signs? God, that must be so upsetting." If 3 weeks later you told those same friends, another coworker of mine turned out to be a 30-body serial killer, all of your friends would instantly take a step back and say, "So why didn't you tell anybody?" It's the type of thing where one is innocent and any more than one is self-evidently guilty. And Trump has known two of these monsters now, and also is on tape and on record and interviews many, many times confessing to being one himself. Uh, a Trip says, "Do you like paintings as well as drawing in the free time? Any advice for beginners? I find it much more difficult than drawing. I've never painted. No way." Largely because the logistical problem. Well, I'm sure I would have no talent at it, but also the logistical problems. I'm not good enough at drawing to graduate to painting, but the logistical problems involve having paints and sets and turpentine and stuff all around. And when you live your life with dogs, I don't know how painters do it. uh, Anti-Gaia, everything is about sex except for sex. Sex is about cardio in overweight, unexercised America. View from the bar, off the topic, but how do you think James Patterson's death will influence the book industry? Uh, well, I mean, the heartless comment would be that it won't influence the book industry. I mean, we're still publishing Michael Crichton novels, right? So I don't think we're in any danger of having any single month of any calendar year for the next 20 years that doesn't have a James Patterson book. Some okie dude says James Patterson died. Dylan says, wait, Patterson didn't die. Must read more says, hi, Steve. I'm listening in as I rearrange my book room. Don't get me started. I did a lot of rearranging in there, and I have more to do, lots more to do. Tolstoy 111, I'm rather enjoying Roth's The Radzetsky March. Please affirm my taste with your own opinion. Your taste is affirmed. It is excellent. Anti-Gaia, is David Mamet a dude bro writer? Oh my God, yes, he is. Yeah, he is. Quaint and Curious Volumes. Bloom wrote a novel. I read it and survived, but just barely. Yes, I didn't want to point that out above because I thought maybe we were under the impression that he didn't. Trip said, what do you think about Russell Brand? Well, I guess we're not straying far from our central subject, are we? An obvious scumbag who wants to be a guru. They all want to be gurus. They all think if they act profound and above human temptation, that means that it's true. I think that's akin to someone like Ashton Kutcher suddenly becoming a crusader in front of Congress, for Pete's sake, against child trafficking. It's always struck me that he's overcompensating for something. Well, what is that something? And I'm that something is now has been exploded. The same something has been exploded twice. Rape and sexual assault with one old friend and then with another old friend. Nietzsche and Wig, reading Dermot McCullough's account of Christianity and love McCullough's easy prose and dry wit. Isn't he wonderful? Isn't he wonderful? That big Christianity book, you look at that, anybody who isn't familiar, especially with nonfiction, would look at that thing and think, oh my God, what a crawl. I would never get through that book from one end to the other. It's fantastic. Also recently read and devoured Richard Evans' The Third Reich at War, chilling and relevant. Yeah, those I've mentioned many times on these Stevestreams. Those Evans books, they're uncanny reading experiences now. Just uncanny. Creepy Pasta Goblin. After all these years, it will be Ashton Kutcher getting punked. Oh, the irony. Anti-Gaia, I went to war with my Reich Krispies. Yeah, I think that's gentle. Nietzsche and Wig, what poems do you love to recite from memory? A favorite of mine is Byron's. I don't love to recite any from memory. I'm not a dude, bro. Mandy says, what do you think about Milton's Paradise Regained? What do I think about Paradise Regained? I like it. J. Scott Phillips, all this talk about Ashton Kutcher and Sean Combs pales in comparison to what's going on with the Blob watch today. How about an update? We do indeed have a blob to watch. We have a storm, a major storm, that is going to make American landfall somewhere. So let's take a look. I haven't actually looked at the blob watch today. Oh my God. Ew. Ew. Okay. Well, I was looking at this. There is Helene, headed for the Gulf of Mexico. And you can see there are storms here. Those are caused by upper currents all along the way here, which means that when Helene enters the Gulf, it's going to bear here. It's going to go away from those. It's going to be bounced off those currents and head towards the Florida coast. And I was paying attention to that, but then if you pull back the focus, look at what is headed for my beloved New England. Look at that stuff. Look at all that. That's all headed for Massachusetts. See? You can see you get a slight hint of directional movement there. And that is all headed up the eastern seacoast. Oh my God. So I haven't actually checked the weather at all. I'm practically losing my crapulent old man card because I should be checking it every hour. But that looks like days and days of rain headed to Boston. So are days and days of rain in the Boston forecast? Let's check Matthew Capucci's weather app and see. No, days and days of rain are not headed to Boston. So what is going on there? Well, generally speaking, that means that the radar is wrong, or that the forecast is wrong, and that the radar is right. That's the huge string of storms headed to New England. Oh, the chat jumped for the very first time. There we go. Pecorin. Hi, Steve. Your videos bring much joy. Do they really? Do they? Just finished the Muir translation of Metamorphosis. What is your favorite translation? And started Station 11. The first 2 chapters hooked me. The Muir translation. Do I know that as a translation of Kafka? Corn Goat used to be my favorite. But I honestly think the Susan Bernofsky translation might be better. I'm not placing the Muir translation at the moment. Street Medic. I wonder how much of MAGA craziness can be explained by meth. I think that would be way too easy an explanation. I think it's much more. It'd been easy and a comforting explanation. I think it's much more accurately explained by the fact that this is a Nazi majority country. This is a fascist majority country. Levi, what translation of Dostoevsky's Demons would you recommend? Probably the Michael Katz translation. That reading, guys. Serial killers might be able to trick humans, but they won't think of the dog watching their every move. Except maybe the son of Sam, right? Who claims to have got his marching orders from a dog. uh, a serial killer who was fresh from the scene of the crime, a dog who knew what they were looking for and cared at all, or someone with extremely acute sense of smell would probably know that something is wrong. I mean, no matter how meticulous you are, you get covered in stuff. But otherwise, we don't know. We can't tell dogs to look for serial killers. Nietzsche and Wig, they're eating the dogs. I laugh so hard at that line. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Should have cost him the election. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't matter because he's not running for election. He's not running for president. Game of Authors. It's new to me. A lot of new names in the chat tonight, I think. Hello, Steve. I'm reading How Green Was My Valley, which I love. I'm curious about the few sequels that he wrote. Are they worth tracking? Excuse me. Are they worth tracking down? No. Street Medic. I'm pretty sure Trump has photos of Lindsey Graham. Cool Beans. Trump 2024. Okay. Let's see here. There we go. Let's see here. Let's see here. So we're going to jump ahead here because we got a troll. Damien P. Are there any modern military autobiographical / historical books, approximately the last 20 years, that you recommend? Well, do you mean by military people? Admiral Stavridis' books are good. Well worth your time. Maybe not his new novel, but his nonfiction is well worth your time. Andrew McDonald, I thought of you in the comic book shop yesterday when I saw What If Donald Duck Became Thor? Is this why you don't go much anymore? I actually, partly, I don't go to the comic shop because I don't have an out and about routine anymore. I once did, and I really don't anymore. A little bit here and there. If there were a comic shop like a block away from the Brattle Bookshop, then I would probably go to that comic shop. But in terms of going to a comic shop on New Comic Book Day on Wednesday, I don't tend to do that. And not that I don't tend to, I don't do that. So if I were to have a guest, for instance, who had a car, well, we might swing by a comic shop. That might be fun. But otherwise, no. No, it wouldn't be just What If Donald Duck Became Thor. It's just, I would find something to get if I went. I'm sure I would find something to get, but I don't do it anymore. Anti-Gaia, I didn't find the eating the pets line from Trump amusing at all. It was blatantly xenophobic, and look at what has happened in the Springfield since. Yes, it was blatantly xenophobic, blatantly racist, and had a huge amount of negative impact. It was also funny. It was also ridiculous. It was a ridiculous moment for a grown man to be saying that on a national stage. It was, anyway. Leo Percara, Steve, I think you need to do a starter kit of books or movies about monsters hiding in plain sight. Yeah, that would work. Anti-Guy says, my reaction to that tirade was more gasp than laugh. Well, we knew that he believed it. We knew that he thought it. That was not its debut. That was its debut for 100 million Americans who'd never heard that nonsense before. But Sid, are you still planning on making the definitive life advice video? I am indeed. 10 tips for living. My 10 tips. You'll never need to change them for anybody else's. Grimy Dave. Hey, Steve, for any chance, are you familiar with the streamer Destiny? Well, there's no streamer equivalent of Have You Read. So yes, I am familiar with Destiny. I hate calling him that. It's so stupid to call these people these names. If it were possible, it would be incredibly interesting to see you on his show Bridges. He would never in a million years have me on it. He doesn't know that anything, doesn't know that BookTube exists, doesn't know anything outside of meth laced vaping exists. But even if he did know, especially if he didn't know about me, there's no chance in the world. None whatsoever. I would call him a stupid charlatan to his face for 90 minutes. I don't think he wants that. Uh, that reading guy says, I realize Bloom wrote a novel, but if I'm correct, he disowned it in later life, to put it mildly. I'm curious why some people with such talent for analyzing literature are unable to write it themselves. The one tends to cancel out the other, I found. The thing that keeps both alive is if you do both. And most people who get into the habit of critiquing literature stop trying to write it. Albert says, been reading Jimenez's biography of Oliveira de Salazar. What did you think of it? D.S. Davis says, live from Tampa, tying myself to a palm tree. I'll be interested to see where this thing goes and what it does. I'll also be interested to see, I mean, the number one thing on all the weather channels that I watch is how much is it going to intensify before landfall. Be interested to see that too. That reading guy started the novel Room, and I'm not liking the narrative gimmick so far. Well, then you're not going to like the book. You strike me as the type who will push ahead no matter what, but you have very limited reading time. So I wouldn't. If it's not working for you, then start Wolf Hall instead. New Energy. See, I'm not recognizing a lot of these people. Do you enjoy reading movie screenplays? No. I recognize they're quite bare bones, with much of the appeal coming from visualizing the movie the screenplay is supposed to become. Yeah, I don't read them at all. Street Medic, have you ever done an essential biographies video? Surely I have. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but surely that would be one of the first ones I would do. That reading guy, have you integrated the library back into your routine? Not yet. No, I would need to make a new routine. I would need to make a new routine that involved the library, the grocery store, the post office. And I haven't done it. I think today's the day. And then this happens. Just look at that. I think today's the day. And then that happens. That reading. Oh no, the chat jumped again. We were on that reading guy again. That reading guy, Steve's top 10 tips of life advice sounds like the best-selling self-help book. The only 10 list you'll ever need. Just haven't made the video. That's all. I want to do a joke version first tomorrow. David, why do you love Augustine? That's Saint Augustine to you. Okay. Trying to account for everything in City of God, but do not like philosophy. Sounds like you have a philosophical bent after all. Because it wasn't empty wordplay for him. He believed he was talking about the ultimate reality. No philosopher does. They're just playing games with language. That's all. They're not trying to learn anything. They think they know everything. St. Augustine was dealing in what he considered to be absolute live grenade realities. He was completely wrong. None of the things he was talking about exist. But still, he didn't think that. He thought it was deadly serious. Anti-Gaia says, Destiny to me always looks like he has way too much energy. I have my suspicions. I'll put it that way. Your suspicions. Yeah. Yes, let's just put it that way. Yeah. I remember once years ago, he was on David Pakman's show, just the two of them chatting. And Pakman was they got off on a tangent. Pakman was saying, well, what about health insurance and regular checkups? I pay X amount of money out of my monthly paycheck every single month to make sure that I have the best possible insurance. You must do the same thing. What are your deductibles like? What does your plan cover? And on the other side of the split screen, which Pakman must have been able to see, is this obviously sickly guy with sticky, pasty, sweaty skin, visibly hunched over in his seat. Someone who's obviously, let's just say, self-medicating 6 ways from Sunday every day, all day. hasn't been to a doctor in 20 years. Anyway, anyway, Tolstoy 111. The worst streamer name is Charlemagne the God. It's difficult even to say that aloud without feeling like a moron. Well, would I need a streamer name? I would, right? I would need a dumb streamer name. What would it be? What would my streamer name be? Fido? What would it be? Andrew, I also saw the second volume of the Micronauts omnibus. I think I'll wait until the Michael Golden years. 2 volumes of the Micronauts. Matthiasen, have you read any of David Graeber's work? If so, what did you think? So we're up to 2 have you read questions in the same stream. And we're not even at an hour. And we're at 2 have you read questions. Including a have you read question about a guy who co-wrote a book a couple of years ago that was reviewed and read by literally everyone in the world. So this is not good. This is not boding well. Let's just move on. Trip says the streamers like Destiny seem like they just read Wikipedia articles. I don't get the impression they read books at all, yet people consider them worth listening to. Depressing to think about. I agree with you completely. It's not them themselves, it's the following they command that is the depressing part. Definitely. Because they're not real. They're not real. They're not right there with you. No, they're not real. And that is depressing. Manny says, which Gustav Vasa biography would you recommend? Excellent question. Sid says, I'm reading Bone on your recommendation and it's so fun. Surprised there are no animated movie of it yet. Seems perfectly suited for one. Yes, Bone is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I of course have my quibbles with it. I had my quibbles with it when it was coming out serially. I wanted to stand up and protest when Bone uses Moby Dick to instantly put the stupid rat creatures to sleep. He only has to start reading them a couple of sentences and they're involuntarily nodding off. I wanted to protest. It's not boring. David says, what is your opinion on George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire? My one opinion on A Song of Ice and Fire. It's 750,000 words, but I have one opinion on it. It's largely good. Does that help at all? I don't think it does. Anti-Gaia says, Steve, you just did a whole list of 200 biographies just a few months ago. I remember you had the Caravaggio biography in there. Yes, that list wasn't a starter kit, but it was a pretty good list. Nicola says, hi, Steve. Thanks for all the videos. You're welcome. Thank you. It's my pleasure, I assure you. I'm reading The Romanovs by Simon Sebag Montefiore. It's my introduction to the Romanovs. Where do I go after this? It will depend. First of all, it will depend on whether or not you've had enough of those hemophilic freaks. But if you haven't had enough, there are plenty of other good books. I would suggest, once you're done with Montefiore's book, that you go back. There are some histories of the whole of the Romanov dynasty that treat with the older history in a lot more detail than he does. But also Robert Massey, Nicholas and Alexandra, an oldie bit of goodie. You'll be swept away by it. Greg says, thanks so much for your Stanley Weintraub recommendations over the years. Disraeli was terrific. I just finished Victoria. Are the war books equally compelling? I don't think the guy ever wrote a bad book. So yeah, I don't think he ever wrote a bad book. I'm glad to hear you say that, but I don't think he'd be disappointed with anything. Sid, also reading Superman in the 50s, and I'm finding it really enjoy the wholesome aspect of the older comics. Sing it to me, baby. I know. I say it all the time on Epic Comic Book Wednesday. The one gimmick every chapter structure is also refreshing after long comic stories. Yeah, I agree completely. Absolutely, completely. That reading, guys. So a lack of authenticity is the main reason why you criticize philosophers. That's one of the reasons. Yeah, they also write intentionally for incomprehensibility, whereas Saint Augustine did not. He's trying his best to be comprehensible. Lots of other reasons as well. Also, a lot of the reasons. Another one of the reasons is connected with the subject that started the Stevestream. Marcia says, my granddaughter's father, an uncle, owned the Escape Hatch comic and used bookstore in Jaffrey, New Hampshire. Can I get you something? Well, I would need to know what they have, right? I would need to know what they have. most of what I would want, I foolishly waited on, so they couldn't get it for me except at collectible prices. There was a comic, the greatest literary production in human history, the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, the deluxe edition. I read them, I love them, I pore over them all the time, and there was a hardcover omnibus. There was a hardcover omnibus of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, the original run. But then they did a deluxe edition. They relaunched the whole series and did another 12-issue deluxe edition, much longer entries, much more artwork, and they made a hardcover omnibus of that as well. The official handbook of the Marvel Universe, the deluxe edition. And like all their anthologies, like all their big omnibus editions, all the Michael K. Vaughan omnibus editions, it came out for like $125, something like that. And I saw that years ago and balked and said, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, I'm not paying that for. And in my mind, I was thinking, well, you know how it is with those hardcover omnibus editions. You wait a couple of weeks or a month, and then on eBay or on Amazon Marketplace, you will find one for half the price. You'll find one for $50 or $70. And sure enough, I waited and I saw that they were at that price. And I thought, maybe it'll go lower. Failing to realize that the next step in the cycle is not going lower, it's becoming collectible. First, it's full price, then it's half price, then it becomes collectible. And now it is collectible. You can't find that thing at all for less than house money. I would love that. But they're not going to have a line on a cheap version of that. So maybe your granddaughter's father and uncle have the original issues, the original full color issues of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe deluxe edition, maybe in a bag. I don't know. If those were there and they were $1 a piece, I would definitely take those. NK Mandel, hey Steve, Leo Percara, that's Saint Destiny for you, Steve. Colin says, can you do an essential Savage Sword of Conan list? Oh God. I suppose I could. The miracle of Savage Sword of Conan is not the individual issues, though, which would kind of defeat the purpose of a list. The miracle is how good it is just issue by issue in general. Street Medic says, I have a biography of Charlemagne on a shelf. I keep telling myself they're going to read it, picking up something else. Is that the new Charlemagne? Is it the new Charlemagne biography, the one where he's in his pajamas on the cover? Tolstoy 111, you need to put a warning about have you read questions in writing in every stream announcement. Then you can respond with have you read the warning? Damien says, on related Trump note, Kushner, speaking on Trump, said, quote, controversy elevates message. Apparently said in complimentary way. The message and reception of it is increasingly more disturbing. Yeah. Marsha says, maybe as you head to 19K subscribers, you could pin the Steve rules. With this channel, we'll never reach 19K. David Galloway, November 5th election live stream. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And also, there will not be an election on November 5th, obviously. Anti-Gaia says, are there any good novelizations of the story of Jonah and the whale? Not really. No, not really. I read one. Oh God, it was years ago, and it was religious press too. A lot of the fiction that comes out of religious presses is notoriously terrible. I read a lot of it, so I would know. But there was one years and years ago. It was Jonah before the whale. It wasn't called that, but I thought that was daring on the author's part. Is that he tells the story of everything else. Actually, Jonah being in the whale is the least interesting part of his story. And this author knew that. This author got that. Most people who read that story don't get that. And it was really good. Oh, God, now I'm never going to remember the name. I wrote a review of it. But nothing recent, no. Sid says, is Montefiore's world history book worth reading? Oh, my. Yes, it is. Yes, it's very much so. Must read more. How accessible would you say Telford Taylor's Munich is? It's very accessible. It's not for babies. No offense intended. It's not for babies. You're going to have to come to it. It's a serious book by a serious man on an incredibly serious subject at serious length. You're going to have to come to it prepared for that. But if you do, well, it's really, really good. I'm pretty familiar with the era and the figures, but it seems a bit intimidating. Oh, no, not at all. Not if you're familiar with the era and the figures. No, then dive into it right away. Anti-Gaia, Charlemagne is a weird guy, not as annoying as Dave Portnoy from Barstool, though. Tolstoy 111, you can't call Nietzsche intentionally incomprehensible, right? He's a great communicator. Oh, yes, he's a great communicator. That's the first thing I think of when I think oh, don't ever lose that sense of humor, Tolstoy 111. Albert, do you recommend the books of Jonathan Israel? Yes. Sid says you praise Superman in the 50s collection as having almost no duds. Is the 60s collection also good? I've been obsessed with him ever since I read Action Comics number 500. Well, the further you get in time, the 60s being the lodestar of this change, the more likely it is that you will have a dud. Right? I don't mean to go off on a rant. It's not Epic Comic Book Wednesday, so ranting about the Stan Lee virus, so it feels a little bit out of season. But the closer you get to the relevance of Marvel Comics, the more likely it's going to be that you hit a dud. Uh, would be the case. It's unfortunate. What you ought to do if you really want more of this, go to the, what did DC call their hardcover reprints? Was the archive editions? Uh, is that what they called them? Uh, let's see here. I've got the iPad here, so I don't have to worry about getting bumped right off. Let's take a look and see. Yeah, the archive editions. They looked like this. They had the black and white lines there, figures in the middle. I showed you all of them for the Legion of Superheroes. If you want more, hunt up those. They're probably not at all expensive on the secondhand market on eBay or Amazon or whatever. They're probably not at all expensive if you hunt up little ones like that. And maybe don't go just for Superman. Maybe they did a whole bunch of World's Finest. Get a whole bunch of those. Get 10 of those volumes. My, wish I still had them. Oh, the chat jumped when I hadn't even touched it. But the last thing I looked at was Action Comics number 500. There we go. Street Medic. Remember the 5th of November should replace Guy Fawkes with an effigy of Donald Trump. Jeff says, Steve, enjoying your Sumerian September videos. Well, now that they've resumed, I went days without making one. I'm surprised Michael K. Vaughan is still talking to me. I also love Napoleonic and naval books. Can you recommend something? It's a little bit broad, don't you think? Jeff says, other than Patrick O'Brien. Well, what about nonfiction? I've got the iPad here. I'm getting a little bit drunk with all this technology. The Wars of Napoleon. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, this one. The two things. Oh, look at that. Both of them came up, so I can just show them to you. This is on a regular streamer. There's this. Charles Esdeli, Napoleon's Wars. That is terrific. An absolutely terrific volume. But this search also gave me another incredible volume, something that's much more recent. We actually saw it on this channel. And it's incredibly good. Alexander Micaberensi, this is the Napoleonic Wars. Great big tomb of a thing, but amazing. Amazingly good. That reading guy, what are you reading tonight? Oh, God. I'm reading another one of these David Drake science fiction novels, Sky Ripper. That you might have remembered. I did a video. Someone sent me a box full of miscellaneous stuff, and this was from 1983. I don't know that I read this, so I'll give it a try. The other day, I mentioned Vivian Loret, a romance writer that I really, really like. And I said at the time that I mentioned her, I mentioned that I had a bunch of her books. And I in the meantime, I was moving furniture around, a little bit of furniture. I'm not allowed to move much, but I was moving a little bit of furniture, and I found a book that had fallen behind a desk. And lo and behold, it was a Vivian Loret novel, Lord Holt Takes a Bride. So I'll be reading this tonight. I'm deeply ensconced in volume 2 of Paige Smith's biography of John Adams. I always forget how great Paige Smith is to read. And I know every detail of John Adams' story. I know all the stuff that Paige Smith didn't put in this book. I've been over every inch of Adamsiana, both at the Adams Farm and in the Massachusetts Historical Society right in downtown Boston. I'm still loving this, just loving, just volume 2. And this thing, The Conscience of the Party, which I'm I'm dealing with it, but I need to deal with it a lot more. It's not. I'm still on a fairly surface level, and I shouldn't be. But there'll also be a Shorty September and a Conan book will be added to that, because I can sideline the Page Smith John Adams. That's just, I'm just indulging myself there. I can sideline that. Trip, you've probably talked about this already, but what did you think of J.D. Vance's Hillbilly Elegy at the time compared to looking back at it now? I thought it was fairly accomplished when I first read it. Now, of course, it's hateful, but I wasn't among the chorus condemning it at the time. Peckerin says the DC Who's Who pales in comparison to the deluxe handbook of the Marvel Universe. I agree. I have the first omnibus, held off buying the second. I didn't get the first one because I'm not interested in the original. I want the deluxe version. And like a fool, I held off on buying the deluxe one. I go to the essentials black and white volumes of the deluxe handbook all the time. I go to them all the time. I knew it was a book I would always use, and I didn't get it. I could kick myself for it. But the reason that the DC Who's Who pales in comparison is because they balked rightly from doing the same thing that the Marvel thing does. The handbook of the Marvel Universe explicitly quantifies the characters that you're seeing on the screen. Explicitly quantifies them. That is just astonishing. So-and-so can run at such and such a speed for such and such a time before he needs to rest. So he cannot run at 10 times that amount of time. Here are his limits. Even the characters that are essentially limitless are not. We're told that Thor has class 100 strength, meaning he can lift over 100 tons. We're not told how much more than 100 tons, but we're also told at the same time that he has that Asgardians have skin and bone that are 3 times as dense as a human being. Which means that, technically speaking, that would mean that if you took one of the most powerful snub-nosed handguns on the market and shot Thor in the chest, you'd kill him. And DC Comics, their characters are mythological. They might be fighting against that. They might not want that to be true. They might have destroyed that. But for a long time, their characters were mythological. So it wasn't possible for you to quantify them like that. You could say the obvious, that Batman is not as strong as Superman, but you weren't going to do anything more than that. So I'm glad there's a difference. I hope DC never tries it. They won't now, of course. But Colin, what is your opinion on Biden's handling of the Israel-Hamas war? Do you think the odds of the U.S. intervening in the conflict? I don't like his handling of it. I realize that he's up against it. It's a really, really, really tough situation. The sloganeers on one side and the sloganeers on the other don't do justice to how tough it is when you are fighting against a paramilitary organization that intentionally entwines itself with the civilian population, knowing that it is playing against your own sense of humanity, implying that it does not have that sense. When you're up against an opponent who does that, that's really, really, really tough. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter once it's really, really tough quagmire that you're in from a tactical standpoint when you're talking about a dozen dead children. When you're talking about 20,000 dead children, it's not a tough subject anymore. There's no part of Israel's, you say the Israel-Hamas war. That's really that is really, really tough to just for me to describe it that way. The Israel-Hamas war seems to me to be the same thing as talking about the Nazi oppression of gypsies during World War II. They did oppress gypsies during World War II, but that's not what you're going to lead with. They're annihilating a whole people. They're trying to get at Hamas. Yes, Hamas is their technical reason, they say. In the furor after October 7th, okay. In the aftermath where you're wondering just what is going on here and how are we going to do this, maybe okay. The Biden administration should not be supporting this anymore. And by not supporting, I mean they should be saying, knock it off. Find some other way. Even if there isn't another way, this way debases us all. And as far as I know, those conversations never had. That it's disappointing. Uh, D Temple 54. I am a child of the 60s. I love the Silver Age DC Comics. Innocent, sweet, and unintentionally funny. A child of the 60s. God, you must be old. Aaron 007. When I was a kid, my friend had New Mutants number 87, and I did not. This was a crippling torment to me. I could not mow lawns quick enough to right this terrible wrong. You have any comics like that from childhood? No. No, I don't. No. Albert Jonah could be seen as the other side of Job. Could he indeed? Teresa says 126 in the chat. There's no way that's possible. No way. Street Medic. Oh, the chat jumped again. Oh, God. We were at a number. We were at the number. Okay, there we go. Street Medic. Our local Barnes & Noble has expanded its religion section and decreased shelf space for science. Is this a trend anywhere else? Disturbing. I'm sure that it is a trend everywhere else. D.S. Davis, do you think Carson McCullers has a place in the conversation of American literature's last century? I don't know what that means. Carson McCullers wrote a masterpiece that is taught in schools. I'm not sure I know what you mean. I'm not sure I understand the phrasing of the question. Tolstoy 111, you can't call Jacques Derrida intentionally incomprehensible, right? I do indeed have my humor. Do you indeed? You're sticking up for Nietzsche. Anti-Gaia Steve, I remember is not much of a fan of McCullers' well-known oh, you're talking to somebody else. That reading guy recently found John Mortimer's Paradise Postponed, got it purely based on your recommendation. Never read any of his Rumpole works yet. Paradise Postponed, it's a little sorry to me that it seems to be fading away. Rumpole is of course immortal, but Paradise Postponed is genuinely good. In a different way. Sid says, performing my regular Gore Vidal BS check through you. Is Paul Bowles worth reading? No. Damien P., I've really been enjoying Sumerian September. Thank you for rekindling my enjoyment of the comic. It's been a long time. Colin says, I just read Savage Sword 200. It might be my top 10 comic issues of all time. I'm not sure I remember Savage Sword 200. Isn't that terrible? Or then again, you could be ironic. Or, quite apart from being ironic, well, speak of the devil. Look at that. We were just talking about these innocent older days. One day at the Daily Planet office, look, Clark, here comes Superman. What? But it couldn't be. And I ought to know, since I secretly am Superman. But you could be using your customary horrible judgment. So let's see what Savage Sword of Conan number 200 actually looks like. Let's see if we can remember what it looks like. Okay, there's Conan crying in the rain. That's 138. So let's go to 200. There's Conan facing a giant. There's Conan facing another giant. And there's Conan facing yet another giant. We're gonna get to we're in territory here that can't possibly be good. So this must be another example of your bad taste. 196, 197, 200. Yeah. Doesn't that look great? That sure looks fantastic. Let's see what we have. Okay. Well, we've got giant bats, and giant bats are always good. so let's see here. Street Medic, 6 frigates is good, roughly same time period as Napoleon, but focused on American naval history. 6 frigates is good, yes. Andrew says, I'm currently reading Chris Miller's memoir, The Real Animal House. I suspect your college experience was very similar. No. That reading guy, what percentage of your reading tonight will be ebooks? Probably just the Conan. I have all the print ones right here. Probably just Conan. Anti-Gaia, the movie version of Hillbilly Elegy is god-awful. Yes, it is. Unbelievably awful. David says, the used bookstore nearest me had a copy of The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shanley. Should I pick it up? Well, are you in the mood for a very antique comedy? You should get it if there's nothing else in the store that you want more. You certainly shouldn't get it out of any sense of obligation. No one reads it anymore. No one studies it anymore. So don't do it out of obligation. Tripp says, how would you grade how Harris has run her campaign so far? Very well. I would grade it very high. She knows what I have been yelling about for the last 2 years. Other people, smarter people, have been yelling about it a lot longer. We just don't deal with the press. Avoid them as much as possible. It's not because you don't have opinions. It's not because you don't have policies. It's because they're junk. They're absolute junk. They're fascist apologists. So, avoid them as much as possible. You don't need them. So just avoid them as much as possible. Must read more. I saw that you picked up The Great Orm of Loch Ness in one of your last book hauls. What did you think of The Great Orm theory? I haven't got to the book yet. Quite the scandal. I have a Loch Ness book that I haven't got to yet. Albert, as you despise both philosophy and psychology, I can only guess what your thoughts on Carl Jung. What are your thoughts on Jung's autobiography? Well, what difference would it make if I like little bits and pieces of his autobiography when the only reason I'm reading it is because of the junk stuff that he put forward in his theories? There's no such thing as genetic memory. There is no such thing as telepathy. If there's such a thing as genetic memory, you should be able to prove it to me. If there's such a thing as telepathy, you should be able to demonstrate it to me. If you can't prove or demonstrate either one of those things, then they don't exist. And if they don't exist, Carl Jung doesn't exist. So his autobiography, all right, so skiing and ponies when he was a boy. Brian Considine, happy to see you back. Reading Tim Rybeck's The Takeover on how Hitler got power. Thinking of your video on authors who did evil things, and Hitler is probably at the top of that pile. D.S. Davis says, rephrased, you've spoken of staying power with authors. Do you think McCullers has that? It depends. It depends on whether or not she stops being taught in schools. If she stops being taught in schools, she'll disappear. She has no popular readership. Sid says, as someone who has never seen or read anything Conan, should I start with the Howard stories first or the 70s Marvel run on him? Well, if Michael K. Vaughn isn't in the chat, I would suggest starting with Marvel Comics. Start with the Marvel Comics. And if you really like what you see, well, the Robert E. Howard stories are waiting for you. A lot of people did that. So there's no harm for you to do it. Tolstoy 111, you don't even like psychology as a literary critical tool. Freud was a great literary critic. Freud was a terrible literary critic. And no, it's a terrible literary critic tool, largely because it's based on nonsense. So you'd expect it to be bad. Anti-Gaia says, I agree, Steve. She doesn't need to do interviews. Anyone telling her that is nonsense. Yeah, I don't know who the people are, but she's listening to just the right people. Pack auditoriums and do select interviews and you'll be fine. You do not need any more. The mainstream press in this country is tripping over itself not to be executed by Donald Trump on a hypothetical return to power. And so they're both sizing a question that does not have two sides. That on the one hand, there isn't on the one hand and on the other hand. On the one hand, you have a normal politician, a normal centrist, moderate Republican politician would be how I would characterize Kamala Harris. On the other hand, you have a madman who is threatening retribution if he wins, a bloodbath if he loses, and says he's going to blame the Jews for it. A madman, an utterly insane, racist, sexist, fascist, lying moron. This is not a balanced ticket. This is not Kamala Harris versus Mitt Romney. This is Kamala Harris or literally anybody else on this side versus a raving, drooling madman who wants to kill everyone. Anyway, let's see here. Sarah Bell says, yay, hello from Newcastle, Australia. Well, we need to wrap things up, Newcastle, Australia. Street Medic says, I've got an old Franklin Library edition of Tristram Shandy. Haven't read it in decades. Well, I'd say get rid of it. But that reading guy says we need a bean watch. Do we really? She's right here. She's right here. I don't know if you can see, you can't really see. She's perfectly happy to just doze or sleep outright, but she wants at least one appendage to be touching me. I don't quite know why. Uh, that reading guy says, "Have you been out for many walks today?" Oh, many, 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 many walks today. It's been a beautiful day. Very humid. The humidity has not gone below 80% in Boston in weeks. Are we playing games? Oh, we're doing code? Anyway, very humid, but beautiful. Just lovely. So anytime she wants to, we go. And it's been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of very interesting encounters with other dogs. Uh, let's see here. Jeff says, "Thank you for your recommendation, Steve. Also, Six Frigates sounds wonderful. I'll have to hunt them up. Six Frigates is really good. Good popular history about the beginning of the American Navy. If you lived in the lower 48 of the United States, I could have a copy in the mail to you tomorrow. So I see it at the Brattle all the time." David Galloway says, "Is Candide philosophy?" No, obviously, it's a novel. Sid says, "Do you have any recommendations on where to start with Eloisa James? I've read a few Joan Wolfe Regency romances now and want to try someone else. Wolfe is very good, though she made me a romance reader." Wolfe is really good. She is. If you had to brush up an old Signet Regency author for a visit to the front parlor, she would probably be one of the ones that I would do, because some of them are just outright silly. There's nothing wrong with that. Once you're in the mood for those old Signet Regency romances, silly works just the same as serious. But Joan Wolfe knows what she's doing. Eloisa James? No. Well, actually, I've got the iPad here. Uh, one of her best-selling books is also really, really good. Uh, and I want to make sure I get it right. And I also want to show you a picture of it. Oh my God! Look at all these great books. Oh goodness gracious. Uh, okay, well, here, hold on. Have a little patience here. All right, here we have it. This one in particular that I'm looking for, and I'm not finding it. How frustrating. Uh, I don't want to get the title wrong. Sarah at the Bookish Knitter would know immediately. I'm sure that if you'd ask what is the standout Eloisa James book to start with, I'm pretty sure that she would say the same one that I would say. Uh, it's just not. It's not coming up here. Oh, that is so frustrating. All right, well, let's pick one that is coming up then, because they're bound to be really good ones. Uh, of the ones that are coming up. Oh, sorry, this is getting really this is taking too long. I'm not seeing the one that I originally wanted, so now I'm looking for the cover to This Duchess of Mine, and I'm not seeing that either. Ugh, how annoying! All right, let's go to. See, Eloisa James writes her romance novels in series, and you don't want to start a series. Uh, okay, well, this isn't going to work then. So that's a shame. Uh, the Okay, all right. Okay, it turns out she does indeed have a Wikipedia page. That's great. Good that it took you 50 years to tell me that. That's wonderful. So we want where to begin with her. Uh, yeah, there we go. Okay. The Duchess in Love series. The first one is Duchess in Love from 2002. You could start there. Really, any of hers will work. I shouldn't even worry about series because she takes care of her readers. So you could come in third book in and you're still going to get it. Uh, let's see here. Sarah Bell. About to visit Rome. Just finished Last Man in Rome by Colleen McCullough. Can I please get a medal? It was good, but I don't know if I could do the next. Yeah, I don't blame you. I would just go instead. Enjoy yourself. Why burden yourself with those doorstops? Uh, Marcia says, please recommend a book on the root cause of our immigration problem. I have been reading Everyone Who Is Gone Is Here. And okay, that's huge. And the Making of Crisis, Jonathan Blitzer. I don't know of any books on the subject. I haven't read any on the subject. I read the news instead on the subject. I don't know that I've read a book on it. Tripp says, well, I like Harris too, but I think she is dropping the ball by playing it too safe. The polls are super close, and Trump tends to outperform them, so I wouldn't be shocked if he wins at this point. Okay, I don't know what polls you're looking at. The most of 99.9% of the polls that have come out in the last 2 weeks have not been super close. But it doesn't matter anyway, because he isn't planning on winning the election. He's not planning for winning the election. He's planning on not having the winner certified. He's planning on destroying the election, not destroying his opponent, destroying the election. So that on November 10th, we have two presidents, both of whom are claiming they are president. Anyway, N.K. Mandel, Steve, how would you respond to the common defense of incomprehensibility in philosophy that it is academic writing similar to quantum physics, topology, genomics, etc., and that laymen shouldn't expect to understand it? I'm pretty sure you can guess how I'd respond to that. Bad writing is bad writing. There is no excuse for it. And it's not like the concepts here can't be explained by good writing. But even if we allow for that, when you strip away the academic jargon from genomics or topology or physics, something is there. When you strip away the arcana and the weird rhetoric from philosophy, there's nothing there. That reading, guys, I had a Trumpist unironically send a TikTok video to me right after he said the MSM is corrupt. He did not get the irony there. Kevin JN, hi Steve, do you think 100 years from now, Dude Bros will be reading Donald Trump's meditations? Randy Ray is here. Did I miss anything? Yeah, you missed 2 hours, bub. We're about ready to wrap up. Nick Piccarilli says, I was watching your video about ending and agreed that final scene with Sam is great. Do you think the scouring of the Shire works for the ending? I don't like the scouring of the Shire as a part of the book. Never understood the affection that it's held in. Albert says, if you weren't from America, I bet you'd find your origins in Sinope. That reading guy. Often I flip through my e-reader and drool over all the books I forgot I had. Tells you how much of a bookish nerd I am. Yes, yes, your videos do a good job of that too. Tolstoy 111. I wonder if Trump reads Latin. His disquisition on Longinus will enrich us all. DT says, Steve, do you have any memories of any of the memory techniques of the Memory Palace work? What do you recommend for memorizing? I've never understood the whole Memory Palace stuff. It certainly seems to work for some people, but to me, it seems like just a practice of associating, just a practice of association, which is just memory. I've never understood how it works as opposed to just remembering things, but I don't know if I'm in a position to comment on that. I've had a lot of friends over the years mention that I just have a really good memory. That you know the reason that you poo-poo the mystification of that sort of thing is because you've never needed to struggle with it. It certainly doesn't feel like I have a really good memory. Where did the chat go? Here, let's go back and find it. NK Mandel says, I wonder if Trump can read at all. No. Street Medic, I wouldn't say quantum physics or topology is incomprehensible, although it can be daunting even if you have a good grasp of mathematics. But the state of those subjects today is highly speculative. That reading guy, have you ever did a romance starter kit? I love Pride and Prejudice, so maybe I should try some old Regencies. No, I've never done a romance starter kit for exactly that reason. That in order to do a starter kit, the person that you... Now 1 mile away. Now 2 miles away, as loud as a person talking in the room. Now 3 miles away, easily audible, like a snoring child. Incredible. But you have to have it modified to do that. Destroys the bike and destroys. Anyway. The reason I haven't done a romance starter kit is because 99.9% of the people who might claim they want one are prejudiced against the whole genre. They're not looking for a good place to start. They need to rethink how they think about the genre. I know, because I was one of those people, so I just don't bother to do it. Jeff says, Steve, what spooky books do you have lined up for October? I don't find books spooky. I won't be lining up anything for October along those lines. DT says, saw a guide to Trollope that claimed Trollope's profound insight to human nature made him first novelist in English to develop three-dimensional characters and create the novel sequence. Some of that is true. Is any of that true or close to the mark? Well, the first, what was it? First novelist in English to develop three-dimensional characters is dumb. But the novel sequence, yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head if anyone had ever done that before him. But he perfected it. He raised it into a commercial art. Sid says, even though James is so successful, I wonder if she gets crap for writing romance in her academic day job. I doubt it very much. Street Medic, dealing presidents kind of like when the Catholic Church had two popes. Dueling, I think you mean. Yeah. It's not going to play out like that, but that is a parallel that I'm sure the mainstream media will dog to death. David Galloway, you don't like Barry Lyndon? Kubrick movie. Yes. DT says, for a heavy reader, do you have a favorite or your preferred attributes for typeface? No, I do not. Sid, the way you talk about quantum physics sometimes makes it sound really weird and interesting. Can you remember a good starter book on it? Spooky Action at a Distance. A book called Spooky Action at a Distance will do just fine. It will really get you intrigued. That reading guy, what superpower do you not have? Touch, maybe. I don't. That's not even a superpower. It's just an ordinary state of events, and I don't have it, or I barely have it. Plenty of other things too. I don't have any rhythm. I can't do music. Sid says, I'm watching the BBC Pride and Prejudice for the first time and loving it. I don't like how insufferable they made Mrs. Bennet, though. She's so hysterical in that show. She's screaming all the time. That reading guy says, Mrs. Bennet is pretty insufferable, though, maybe for good reason. Street Medic says, in my experience, the problem most people have with quantum physics is wave/particle duality and has led to solutions like the many worlds that I think is untestable nonsense. Well, conceptually, it's not nonsense, but it is definitely untestable. So it is fantasy. Jasper says, watching Yes Minister, do you like it? Of course I do. What's not to like? But anyway, we are going to wrap this up now. It's not 10 past the hour, but close enough. It's almost the hour. And this was so much fun. It's like we never lost track of how to do this. It's like getting back on a bicycle. So we will do this again. We will do this. Well, if I can keep up this freakish streak of productivity, it'll be tomorrow. And if I can keep up the streak of productivity, then I might know it really early, in which case I can announce this earlier, which would be great. Might even be able to do it earlier if that would work for any of you. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I will be back. Thank you all very much. This was wonderful. You got a lot of videos to watch, and there'll be a lot more tomorrow, I hope. So I'll see you all then. Thank you, BookTube.